There are snapshots in my mind of bits of the country that I will never forget.
I couldn't walk for 3 days.
I could have handled it easier, I could have handled it a little bit harder. If it had been snowing and hail for 4 days, I might have been a bit more miserable about it.
Little snatches of a few miles where you're herring up some mountain pass, nailed to the back end of your mate's Motor Guzzi.
I don't know how to put this in words, but that I don't think I've ever experienced that feeling before.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I had no inkling to sign up for the Great Mile. And I mean, I didn't have a bike licence. I didn't have a bike.
It started off as a nice ride across England and it turned out to be an absolute challenge.
I knew it was not going to be easy, but I was probably sat there on the start line thinking, yeah, maybe it's going to be even more of a challenge than I thought it might be.
The departure from Castle of May, such an iconic place to start. All the riders ready to go, a lot of uncertainty on what will happen.
I'm in Scotland now and I have to end up at the end of the UK on the other side. I have no idea how this is going to happen.
So anyway, our first day's ride was going really well, and then we got into a situation where there was the heavy rain.
It's really started to, excuse my French, to piss it down.
But you know, you expect that in Scotland, don't you? Set up to do a rally, starting in Scotland, you think, well, actually, you need to take all your waterproofs with you because it's going to be wet, at least some of the time in Scotland. And we were quite lucky in a way.
It was only a couple of hours in when we sort of started to realise this was going to be an amazing journey, right? I mean, some of the scenery was just breathtaking. Straight out of the gate, you know, it just opens up into just the most beautiful parts of Scotland, the glens and the lochs, and it was just gorgeous.
That was like something out of Mauritius, or, you know, it was just incredible. I mean, if it hadn't been -20, I think we would have stopped and got in our pants and straight in it.
I had my cameras with me, and I could have stopped every couple of miles. Yeah. It was that gorgeous.
The route was amazing. It was phenomenal. Going through Glen Shee was the best thing in the world, and all the lochs around there, and then coming over those slate mountains, which just felt like the moon was something else. But we did the majority of it without sat-nav. There was only one small bit we took sat-nav on, and that was great. That was really something, and I highly recommend it. It's risky, but great. It meant we didn't have our phones on. We were just disconnected to the world, and we were just 4 guys riding and having fun.
What am I going to do? My bike's here. And I'm here. And I'm like, how am I going to make it?
There's no looking back, so I guess.
I'm just going to go straight into bed and just get away from this. And hopefully in the morning, I can wake up and want to keep going on this race.
Up early in the mist, thinking we'd get a really good start to the day.
Well, they let us go early. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
They sent us off a little bit earlier than everyone else.
Because we'd had such a long day.
Because the mist was coming in, and they stopped everyone else. They went, "You losers go that way and get going, because you're always behind the curve."
And they were right.
And they were right. Yeah.
The second day of riding, when we started from before hitting Lake District. So this is the day when we started off as the first riders.
Yeah.
We got on. Within 10 minutes, we were in the middle of the clouds. Just gorgeous. It was magical. I don't know if there's any other way to say it.
Not really ridden for anything like that. I mean, you know, just almost barren nothingness. but then surrounded by massive mountains.
It was
and
just
you go
big
around the
scenery,
corner.
wasn't it?
Yeah, just big scenery that I'm only ever used to normally in other parts of Europe, really. But then to see it right on essentially our doorstep, it's just incredible.
There was a couple of groups that really, when they came into checkpoint, despite the weather, just had a big smile, and morale was really an important thing, I think, on the trip, and they really kind of brought a real happy kind of vibe.
The spirit was there of what we were all doing and kind of in it together against all different types of weather conditions.
For me, that was one of the best things of the trip, which I didn't actually expect. The challenge of it being, even though it was simple challenges, riding in the rain, but because it was over such a long distance and so many miles each day, I think that was what was, by the end of it, it was like, you feel like you've achieved something. It wasn't quite Everest, but it was pretty, it was pretty up there, I think.
Pretty much turned up with two pretty inappropriate bikes. So yeah, we had a lot more issues than we first envisioned. It was 11:30. We was still pitching our tent.
He had to pitch his own tent as well.
Well, we decided we're going to look at the bike in the morning. We haven't got time tonight. Let's just get our heads down. We're absolutely knackered. And then from a distance, I hear a bike being wheeled off a trailer to see Callum wheeling our bike out, and then sat there and adjusted all the clutch for us and basically fixed the bike and got it running. So the next morning we was ready to jump straight on the bike and go, no fettling. So yeah. A big thank you to Callum, definitely got us going that night. Neville. Yeah, when we heard that he had flown back to get a bike, top man. That's bulldog spirit, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people, including us at the top. Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting it either. So yeah, fair play to him. That's top man.
The four of us were riding through the north of Wales. Was the north of Wales, and we all had small number plates. And we went past this policeman. We saw him and we thought, "Oh, we'll go for it." And then 2 minutes later, we heard him going, "Nah!" All going chasing.
Apparently, it's notorious, and we didn't realise, up the north end of Wales. And we got stopped, pulled over. The other two managed to just drive on casually, and Adrian and I stopped. Mine was slightly too flat, and Adrian had a show plate. Unfortunately, it was £100 fine each.
Which is a small price to pay for such an enjoyable trip.
Saw poor old D come whizzing past and just drop off the road at slow speed. It was like he kind of hit some ice, because you just went.
Slipped away straight off. And I wasn't going that fast at all. I slowed down pretty well, but yeah, it just went away from me, and wondering what to do next. Steve just started doing what he does best. Just picking up little bits and just having a look and working out that actually that bit goes there, and taped it all together and tried it, didn't work, found another bit. Dave then managed to find the tiny spring in the middle of it all, and it fired up.
I think it was on the third day, but it was the only day where we actually ended up riding properly in the dark. It was dry, which really helped. It's difficult to tell when the bike's actually running out of fuel, like the fuel gauge doesn't really work. But I knew I'd done enough miles and it was starting to get a little bit dicey from a fuel standpoint. It was the only point really where I really remember thinking, I'm definitely riding too fast because I kind of want to get there, get it done, right? But just going around those country roads, I said, in the dark, like if something goes wrong here, it could actually be a bit dicey. Bike was singing, but because of that, it's one of the most memorable points and actually one of the bits I probably enjoyed most.
Oh, I will never forget the feeling of water going down my shoe, getting it and making it stop, and you hear that squishy sound as you're walking around, and you know literally you have another 8 hours to be on the road.
Done.
Oh.
You're done. Toasted.
When I went over the bridge, I had the decision, did I want to go west, or the fact there was the M4 inviting me to carry on and go straight home.
No, never.
Never. What we had been through in the first 3 days just to get to the fourth day, there was no way was we peeling off to head home early. Yeah, we wanted that feeling of completing it.
Never ever a conversation or a thought in the head about it.
Yeah, never once.
Some bits lift your heart more than others.
Yeah, it was a real good feeling, good high.
It was an awesome trip, absolutely awesome.
Fantastic roads, great route, great event. Keen to do it next year.
It was long days, it was challenging days, but I think it's probably days I'll always remember.
To think that I could do something like this with my kids in the future would be amazing.
You have to do it to experience it, and I think that's my takeaway. Got to do more of these to truly. If I found something so special, got to do more of these.